Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session here Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. It's an open forum. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you want, whether it's on the state of Utah, real estate, investing, the United States. If you're joining us from overseas, you name it, we can discuss it. So, in Utah this week, I did miss last week. Had to hold an open house and just couldn't make it home for 8 o'clock. So in the state of Utah this week, it's been very nice weather. 90-degree days. And just right now, we have a little bit of a thunderstorm come through. Just a wee little bit of rain out there. It's actually nice. I really, really like it. Love it for the garden and the yard and everything like that. So just a wee little shower. It's probably lasted, it's clearing up now, probably about half hour, 40 minutes. Just enough moisture, just nice. We always need the moisture here in the state of Utah. That's mostly what's going on in the state of Utah. I was going to talk a little bit this evening if we have any questions, but 40-year mortgages. They're talking about 40-year mortgages. What's your thought? What's your thought on a 40-year mortgage? Too long? It's needed? It's not needed? It's not new. The 40-year mortgage is not a new product. Well, it is. It would be a new product, but it's a tool that they used here recently, a few months back, throughout the COVID situation, on some people who they were doing 40-year loan modifications. So people who went into the program of not paying their mortgage during COVID, so they offered this, being able to basically tack on what they owed over that time period on the back of their loan, and they wrapped it all into a 40-year mortgage and came out with a new payment. And that, it was real handy during COVID. You've got some people who hadn't made their payments for quite some time. So to go to them and say at some point, well, you owe X amount of dollars, $2,000 times 12 months, 15 months, whatever. Most people can't come up with that kind of money. And if you just tacked it on to the existing 30-year mortgage, their payment would go up because you had a little more money. So they came out with this 40-year, I believe they actually called it loan modification. But the idea was to try to keep people's payment by adding on those payments to the back and keeping people's payments roughly where they were at pre-COVID. So the idea has been out there for a while. They are talking now about offering the particular product, a 40-year mortgage. And it's basically same as a 30-year mortgage. You just, instead of 30 years worth of payments, you would have 40 years worth of payments. I think eventually this product will be offered. I actually think it might be at some point down the future, just my opinion, it'll probably be like the standard. It might be like the standard way home prices are going up. And, whether they take a dip or whatever in the market, home prices historically increase. You look at it through the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, et cetera, et cetera. The home prices are just, going up, going up, going up. They've had some valleys, ups and downs, but as things become more and more expensive, sometimes you have to longer program like a 40-year mortgage. And where I really think about this is in the car industry. I can remember back when most car loans were 3 years. Then we went to 5 years. Now people are getting 6, 7, 8-year car loans. So it's happened there. And I think it's will happen in the mortgage industry also. Couple questions. Let's see what we got. Inventory is climbing, and so is price cuts. Is the market beginning to shift to a buyer's market? Yes, you are correct. Right now, I don't know what the numbers are today, but I can tell you when I last looked, it was either yesterday or the day before, we had 7,000 homes for sale, all price ranges. We were below 3,000 back February, March timeframe. So yes, significant increase. Price cuts. Now that's a little tricky. We are seeing homes that people have on the market that are having to lower the price to get showings. We are seeing that. And I'm toying with the idea on the price because you really have to dig down to the neighborhood. We've been in a mentality, and this has been the mentality for the last 2 years. Your neighbor home sells for $500K. You want to put yours up for sale. Okay, Mike, I want 525. I want 550. I want to set a new high because they got 500,000. Then I sell mine for 525. The neighbor's home down the road goes up for sale, and they're like, okay, he got 525. I want 550. So there's been this constant like push. And that push with some sellers, they think that that's what the market is right now. So they're looking at what's sold in their neighborhood over the last 4, 5, 6 months, and they want higher than that. They're like, well, we're going to push it because we're now in the summer months. So if 3 months ago the home sold for 500, I want 550. So we're definitely seeing on those particular homes where people are trying to push that envelope even higher, they're having to go back and adjust the price. So, yes. So I guess if you want to consider that a price cut, yes. And it's part of how the market is changing. So the thought from the consumer has to change, that we're not in a market now at where we just can keep constantly setting new prices. It's changing. But it is shifting to a buyer's market. And I really like it. I love the market, how it is right now. We have inventory. 6 months ago, I do a lot of video tours. Well, 6 months ago, sometimes I would drive 100 miles one way and 100 miles home to videotape one home because that's all that was on the market. I have a handful of people looking for homes, but inventory would pop up so infrequently. All of a sudden you get that one house pop up. I go down, do a video tour of it. It's nice for me, definitely nice for me, because there's more selection. Now I'm getting phone calls. I'm out there doing 3, 4 videos a day because inventory, and I can schedule myself better here, and reduce my driving and get it all done in a group. I'm loving it. And I like the selection. What also has been tough over the last couple of years, sometimes people, well, how do you want to phrase this? Have had to select a home that didn't like meet their criteria, let's say. And what I mean by that is maybe it was on a busy road. Maybe it had an ugly paint scheme, or maybe the flooring was outdated, or the kitchen cabinets were outdated. And because inventory was so low, they just had to take the home. Now, buyers can be a little more choosy. If they walk in and they're like, it probably needs a 20, 30K rehab, they can move on to another home. So that's great for buyers. I really like that. That you don't have to settle sometimes for like second best. And if you're looking for certain particular properties, like horse property, it's still difficult to find. So those a little bit different. But anyways, it isn't. I enjoy the market. I think it's a lot better for buyers. You actually, as a buyer, you can do, there's a lot of things that have changed. Maybe a year ago, people were going in, no contingencies, no inspection, no appraisal, no nothing. I'm buying the house. Now you can actually have a home inspection. And if you don't like what the home inspection says, you can pull out, receive your earnest money back in a time window, a couple weeks or whatever. Those opportunities are available now. In the past, many homes. And as a buyer, you also don't have to go with this competing of $50,000, $100,000 above list. And it was hard on my end during that time period. You look at a really nice home, it was 500,000. So we put an offer in for 535, which we thought was a solid offer. And I have to make those phone calls and go, we missed out. And they're like, how did we miss out? It went for 550, 560, 570. I'm like, well, no way. So it is a little easier. It's a little easier on agents and easier on buyers, I think. So it's definitely a buyer's market. Great time to buy. Will you have question and answer about 55 plus communities, especially in Southern Utah? Sure. Shoot away. Ask your question. I have an agent that works with me that handles my Southern Utah stuff. But as far as like specifics about particular communities in Southern Utah, I may not be able to answer some of those, but definitely I've got, 55 and over community. And that's another market that is a great time right now. 6 months ago, a lot of people wanted 55 over communities. Very hard to get, very difficult to get. Now we're seeing homes pop up. So there is availability. I spent the last week visiting Utah from St. George to Garden City. Oh, wow. You covered the whole state, north to south. Yeah. I was amazed at how much new construction was going on, from businesses to houses to resorts. You're right. Construction is everywhere. Love to know your opinion on the state of Utah. If this was your first time here, whether it's good or bad, I know the state of Utah may not be for everybody. That's fine. But good or bad, sure. Give me some feedback on what your impression of the state of Utah was. I always love to get people's opinions. And I ask this question all the time when I run into people. But we have construction going on everywhere. The state is growing like, I've never seen the growth like this, and lots of jobs. And with that, commercial, residential building is just on fire. And I'm shocked for someone like myself who is in these cities and neighborhoods daily, weekly. Well, not every neighborhood weekly or daily, but I still drive down roads and something new pops up. And what was there before? I don't remember what was there before. Oh yeah, there was a gas station there. Now it's an apartment building. It's and I'm always asking, what are they building there? What are they building there? What's going on there? I have 50 questions all the time, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Here is my area, Central Cali houses sitting a lot longer and prices dropping. New construction is hitting a wall because of higher price for everything and lacking delivery of products. Yes. So the second part of that question, new construction, they're in a tough. It is really tough right now, mostly because they have already paid. So the homes have been under construction for the last 6 months, at least. And all along, the builders have been paying top dollar for everything along that build process. Top dollar for wood, top dollar for labor, top dollar for roofers, you name it. They've been paying the top dollar. And sometimes builders didn't have a choice. There's a labor shortage in Utah. I'm not too sure about California, but there's a labor shortage here on construction workers. There has been. And some of these subcontractors can basically name their price. And so they've got huge costs. And now all of a sudden the market has changed. Those home builders don't have much room to lower the price. They have, it's cost them X amount of dollars to build that home, and they're right down here. Now going to the future now, it might be a little bit better for them because wood is down about 50% because of the nationally, new construction is down nationally everywhere. So wood prices have dropped, and possibly some of the other construction materials may follow suit, concrete, roofing, etc. So home builders will be able to maybe have a little bit less cost and a little more wiggle room as they go the next 6 months of the year, but it's tough. New construction is tough. So, but as far as homes sitting longer in the state of Utah, homes are sitting longer too. And that's another nice thing about for buyers and for real estate agents. I've literally numerous occasions, home hits the market in the morning, and I'll book an appointment for maybe the afternoon, and I'll get a phone call maybe at 2:00 saying, Mike, you better show up to that home. And your clients, if they're interested, need to put an offer because we've already got 6 or 10 offers, and they're going to make a decision tonight. That quick, just like that. Those days have ended. So now it's, it hits the market today. I could go today. We could look at it tomorrow. Do a video today, tomorrow, maybe probably Friday, Saturday, maybe even next week. So a lot nicer. So a lot nicer. $55+ seem to be in St. George mostly. They seem quite expensive. Also interested in Moab, but haven't seen any there. Yes, let me tackle that question a couple ways. 55 and over. Yeah, throughout the whole state. Northern Utah has quite a few 55 and over communities. When you're talking about Moab, though, you'll find very few. Moab is more of a tourist destination as opposed to maybe like a primary residence or an over 55 community in Moab is tougher with a few things. One would be medical. So I find this is just a general statement. I'm not really talking about anyone's particular health or whatever, but people who I work with typically that are over the age of 55, for them 55 and over communities, and most of them are probably in their 60s at least. One of their number one priorities is medical care, access to large hospitals. And that's going to be St. George, or it's going to be Salt Lake City area, Northern Utah. Very high on their list, very, very high on their list priority. So my assumption would be like a 55 and over community in Moab may not be as popular. Some people may not want to choose that with the distance that they may have to go for medical care, especially if you have a condition that requires a specialist or weekly care or some kind of weekly treatment or monthly treatment, to constantly be commuting. Some people aren't big fans of. So, but 55 and over. So you'll find in St. George and you'll find in Northern Utah, communities all over. As far as costs go, as far as St. George goes, costs, yes, St. George has exploded. And if I had to pinpoint it down to a couple reasons, a lot of people are choosing St. George as retirees because it's a retirement community. So it does attract a lot of retirees. And the second group of people that it attracts is people from the state of California. They are used to, like if you're in, let's just talk Southern California. I know the weather down there a little bit better. But if you're looking for similar weather to what Southern California has, that would be in St. George. So when people look at the state of Utah that are retired or if they work from home, let's say they're not looking for major employment in the St. George area. That's the one downside about the St. George area would be job opportunities. But if you're in category of work from home or you're a retiree and you're choosing between Northern Utah and Southern Utah does get the draw because of the weather can be very similar to a lot of areas in Southern California. So that has brought increases in price, very high increases in price. So, yeah. that's kind of how we go in St. George. Baby boomers in the future, build affordable housing for them. Yes. That's something that's really on my mind. That is something that is really on my mind is other generations, the ability to own a home, I think, is going to decrease for a number of reasons. The number one reason, the big boys, what I call the big boys, the Wall Street money, the hedge funds, these big outfits with millions and billions of dollars around the United States, they are buying up entry-level homes all across the United States and turning them into rentals. Well, those entry-level homes will probably never see the market again. I think the national average is people purchase homes on average about every 7 years. So you'll live in a home, maybe you'll upgrade it, or maybe you move for another job about every 7 years. But when these companies buy these homes, turn them into rentals, they will not hit the market again. Probably not hit the market unless they decide to get out of the rental business. So I really worry about other generations, kids, grandkids, how they're going to be able to afford a home. Because the supply issue, we're going to have a supply issue, especially on entry-level homes. Your $1 million, $2 million homes, there's going to be inventory. But 20, 30-year-olds affording $1 million homes, very rare, very rare. So I worry about it. And I think we will become a nation of more, the population of renters will increase. It will increase. And something sticks in my mind. I helped somebody from California, and actually a couple of people have told me this. And they moved to the Utah, and I always ask the question, why did you move to Utah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the big things that I always hear about California is they tell me, Mike, there's a few ways you can own a home. You are a working professional, or you are two working professionals making six-figure incomes, let's say. I don't know the exact number. Or you inherit a home. Or you are willing to have a long commute. And I'm talking over an hour, 2 hour to work, hour, 2 hour back. Because California's home prices have been very unaffordable for many years. And that's what I think will possibly happen around the United States, because we're taking some of those lower or entry-level homes and turning them into rentals. And it is, I don't know if you want to use the word so bad, but, and this is even happening in Utah. I actually drive by, when I leave my house every day, almost every day, I drive by a townhome development that is 100% rentals. And that's happening in Utah a lot. The big boys are coming in. They're building complete communities. I think it's Goldman Sachs I just read about a couple of weeks ago. They just bought in Florida, they bought a community of 87 homes, turned them all into rentals. So it's happening around the country. And I worry about generations, so I'm a California girl to Salt Lake City Valley scares me, but St. George heat scares me too. So I would say the downside with St. George is the summertime temperatures, 110, 115 degrees, normal. The ideal situation, and there are many people in Utah that do this, they live in northern Utah for 6-7 months out of the year, and they have a home in St. George, Utah, and they live there for 5-6 months out of the year. They live in both parts of the state. I didn't say that was cheap, by the way. I don't do snow. Okay. I've been to Utah several times in the past for work, Salt Lake City area. Okay. That was my first vacation visit. Beautiful state, wonderful mix of city and rural. Yep. Nice people. Well, thank you on the nice people. Appreciate that. Everything was cheaper in the store. Yes. I have to excuse me. Did you say you were, when you say everything is cheaper in the store, I'm assuming that you must reside in the state of California. That's my guess. But yeah, if you come from the state of California, and that's one thing that some people do not factor in. When you're making a move from, say, California, when you're compared California to Utah, a lot of people look at like the home price and the property tax and go, oh, okay, you get a savings. Where your real savings comes from is like gasoline. Right now in the state of Utah, we are, I don't know, $5.20 a gallon. I would imagine California is $6.20, maybe even higher. So every time you fill up your tank, it's $20 less. Electricity is less. Food prices are less. Everything adds up to $20 here, $20 there, and pretty soon you have hundreds of dollars of savings. Car insurance, car registration. A friend of mine, similar truck to what I have. He had a Dodge dually. I don't have a dually truck, but he's got a Dodge dually, and he was telling me that it was $750 a year to register. Same year as my truck. And my truck here costs me under $200 a year to register, and he was paying $750 in San Diego. So there's a $500 a year savings right there. Speed limits kind of freaked me out. Felt like I was breaking the law. Yeah. So I know. So I had to make a quick run to Las Vegas last Friday. We left real early in the morning. I have a rental down there I had to take care of. And you have 80-mile-an-hour zones down there, and you can do 85 in those zones. Well, people do 85s. It's not legal to do 85 mile an hour. Let me rephrase that. But if you're doing, say, 80, 85 mile an hour, people go by you like you are standing still. They're over 100 mile an hour on that road. Yes, easily. So not this particular trip, but I was down there like 2 months earlier, and I was moving along the road, but I got overtaken by a Suburban that literally came by me at well over 100 mile an hour. He got stopped, and I caught him in Cedar City, got pulled over by the police in Cedar City because it drops down to 65 there. You get a lot of speeders there because you go from 80 mile an hour zone to a 65 mile an hour zone. So 15 mile an hour drop just like that. He was pulled over there, and I kept going. I'm going through the town. Probably about 45 minutes later, he come by me doing probably 110 mile an hour, just going. The speeding ticket didn't slow him down at all. He was gone. Yeah, you can make really good time. I made Vegas I left here just after 6 in the morning, and I pulled into Vegas just after 12. So, and that's stopping and getting some fuel and some lunch. So, well, you go back an hour or two when you go to Vegas, by the way. What can you tell me about Morgan County? Morgan County is a great area. It is it's country living, 100%. A lot of farms, a lot of mom and pop businesses in Morgan. It's a tight-knit community where neighbors look out for each other. They probably know most of the neighbors in the area, although with the growth, it's probably changing a little bit. Good friend of mine lives in Morgan. He loves it. Absolutely loves Morgan. It's country living. I guess the downside for Morgan would be when you are looking for amenities, and I mean movie theaters, restaurants, large selection of grocery stores, Costco's, Sam's Club, you have to commute into the Ogden area, which would be a solid half-hour drive on the freeway, depending on where you're at in Morgan. Just getting on the freeway exit from probably the freeway exit in Morgan to Ogden is half hour. But if you live somewhere a couple miles, you might have to add another 10 minutes to it. So if you would like to go to, I mean, there are some restaurants in the area. There are some grocery stores. You don't find the Walmarts, the Targets, the Sam's Club, the Costco's, etc. in Morgan. So you would have to, if you needed those items, or if you want to run to catch a movie, you'd have to come into the Ogden Valley. So, and that also goes for like medical care and stuff like that. I would imagine, I'm guessing at this, but there's probably like maybe like some small clinics in the area. So if you needed to see something, see a doctor, you could probably go to a place like that. But if you need any kind of specialist or for any kind of condition or whatever, you would have to come into the Ogden area where Selection is. There's 2 major hospitals in Ogden. Selection is a lot larger. So that would be like the downside for some people. Some people don't mind it. Oh, yes, California. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you'll find pricing across the board. You'll find pricing lower than California with whether it's electricity, gas, you name it, food, groceries, food restaurants. You'll find that the price is a little bit lower than what California is. Yeah, in general. So, all right. Sorry, I have a lot of questions. Hey, that I enjoy doing that, and don't feel bad about questions. I record this here. This live comes. I'm in the basement of my home, so I have nowhere to drive. I have nowhere to go. I just walk up the stairs. It's ever so nice. So love modern technology. And the next man who asked a question is joining us from overseas. I really enjoy technology, how people can connect from around the world. Eating dinner in London, and actually, I took my wife to lunch today, and there's a 7-hour time difference. So he was eating dinner, and he sent me a picture of the restaurant, the food on the plate, kind of like jokes with me a little bit. He's a nice man. And he goes, we're having dinner in London. So I took a picture and said, well, mate, it's lunchtime here. And I took a picture of our meal. So we had a good laugh, but it's amazing how we can connect around the world. So, and if calculate our brain to the time difference, it was really nice. But anyways, yeah, lots of questions about experience power outages due to population growth and drought. Yes, they are battling growth issues. So there's a lot of there is in bad shape. The way to put it. There's a lot to do with they're trying to a lot of water to areas also, and they're trying to divert some water to California. So there's a big fight that's going on down that area, and how that's going to get resolved too sure. So we're having a problem down there with Lake Powell right now with low levels of water. They are have a plan in place. So Flaming Gorge, which is Wyoming, Utah. So the Wyoming-Utah border is where Flaming Gorge is located. They are dumping water right now out of Flaming Gorge. I think it goes down the Colorado River, down the Green River, I think, to the Colorado River, and then goes into Lake Powell. They are dumping gallons out of Flaming Gorge to help fill up Lake Powell. So that is one solution, and they're going to have to do something down there. But yeah, power outages. But my question is, where in the United States are we not having power outages? I mean, I read about it everywhere, state after state after state. I think I just read in Texas where they were asking people who own Teslas, please do not charge your car from like 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. because the grid system can't handle it. So I think every state is battling power problems. So northern Utah, we don't really have any power outages. Unless like the wind blows down a power line or something like that. But our power system in northern Utah is probably stressed. They've done some improvements, like they've got these meters they put on your AC machine, and they can like shut them down for short time periods to try to save some electricity. There's some things that they're attempting to do in northern Utah with helping with some. Yeah, drought is a concern with southern Utah. The growth has just been, I think in northern Utah, I mean, we're considered in a drought. In northern Utah, we've done a poor job. That's the bottom line. The state has done a poor job. We've had water flowing for years and years and years, and we all have nice big yards, nice green grass, and now we're starting to think about desert landscaping, taking some of it out, put desert landscaping. Our federal buildings, our city buildings, our churches are full of grass, using a lot of water. So in the state, we're going to have to do a better job of water management. We can do it. There's no doubt. We have, I guess, waste a lot of water, and this year they actually shut some of these down. We have what they call splash pads in some cities. And it's great for little kids. So the water shoots up in the air and the kids run through it and they play in the water and everything like that. Some of the cities are shutting them down because they use so much water. And yeah, it's true. But, for a long time, water has just flown and we've never really thought about it. So, but yeah, it's an issue, but the state can do a better job. I mean, if we could conserve more, and we can conserve more water up here. And I personally think that the state needs to take the initiative. I think they need to make a mandate tomorrow to shut off all water to all federal, state, county, city buildings, and remove all the grass, let it die, remove all the grass, and put desert landscaping in it. That would save a lot of water just there. Just start the initiative. And then when people see how beautiful desert landscaping can be, I've seen some great desert landscape yards. It'll catch on to some homeowners and we'll start changing. So, and we could then shift some of that water to southern Utah. So, but there is this, and I guess I call it a dream, but they are talking about pumping water from the Pacific Ocean all the way to areas like St. George and northern Utah and other areas across the way, across Nevada and everything like that. I don't know if it ever will come to reality, but they're talking about it. Hello, Mike. How are you doing? How is it overseas there? 3 a.m. in the morning. Wow. Fire pits allowed in Utah, 100%. Fire pits are very, very popular over the last 10 years. Quite a few homes, people are putting fire pits in and have been popular. Yep. I'm guessing your question directs or correlates to air quality, but they haven't said anything about fire pits at the moment, and they're trying to get rid of wood or coal burning fireplaces. They're over the years they've actually had a lot of incentives. At one point, they had incentives where the state would come in and they would put gas fireplaces in where you have a wood burning or a coal burning fireplace. And there was a lot of money generated towards that. And they, I believe, modified a lot of houses to that, courtesy of the state. Ogden Hill Air Force Base has grown since I was last there a couple years ago. It seems to be approaching crowded. Yes, that area, yeah, all along the Wasatch Front. I mean, from Logan down to Provo Orm area, growth. But yeah, Ogden Hill, there's and part of the reason for the Ogden Hill is the new F-35s that came here. The companies that support the F-35s, so that is one area where we've got, whether it's military, civilian workers, contractor workers, has moved here in enormous amounts. And then you've got companies like Northrop Grumman, who has many projects going on. One of them is some kind of missile defense system that they are going gangbusters on. They just built 3 huge buildings up there on the base, huge buildings. Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, the growth has been crazy. So wood burning, yes, yeah, yeah, fire pits are okay. Yep, no problem. Right at the moment, that may change, but no, at the moment they haven't said anything about fire pits. Are wildfires a problem in Utah like they're in California? Okay, so wildfires. We do get some wildfires. Nowhere near, well, nowhere near the devastation that California has experienced, or even Colorado, for some areas of Colorado. We have had some fires, but they're typically in some wooded areas at where either it's recreational land or some land in like the mountains where we don't have much population or very little population. Maybe some like cabins and or vacation spots type of thing. But we haven't had any kind of wildfire that has come through and taken out neighborhoods like California has. No, none of that. So we've had some that start up on a mountainside that approaches some homes, and we probably have had some homes that have been singed or burnt some, but we haven't taken out complete neighborhoods by any means. So I really personally don't really think a lot about wildfires in a sense. Not to the extent that California, where it's devastated miles and miles of homes. So no, we haven't had anything like that. Homeless situation. So once again, if we compare it to California, our homeless situation is probably 1/10 of the issue that California has. So we do have people who are homeless. We are not immune to it. The difference is, like when I'm visiting California, I see the homeless situation when I just drive somewhere. I've seen it on the beaches of California. I've seen it in Santa Monica. In Utah, I know where the homeless population is or predominantly is, and it's kind of concentrated in certain areas, in certain cities. So I pretty much know where it's at, and most tourists who probably come to the state of Utah probably don't experience the homelessness in Utah unless they go through certain areas or certain neighborhoods. So we do have a problem, but not like California for sure. The other thing with the homeless situation here is you see more of it during the summer months, because if you're living outside, it's during the summer months, it's easier to live. In the winter months, when the temperature is 20 degrees, 25 degrees, I think a lot of them decide, let's head south. Let's go to St. George. Let's go to Mesquite. Let's go to Las Vegas. It's a little bit warmer to live. And then I think some of them come up here during the summer months because you get those states like Las Vegas, well over 100 degrees. It's probably kind of hot trying to live down there. I think some of them say, well, let's go to northern Utah because they're at 90 degrees and, you know, get in some shade and you're nice. So I think our numbers kind of fluctuate like that throughout the year. Great questions. Appreciate all the questions. Any more questions this evening? It has been a great evening. I appreciate all the questions. I enjoy my time. I love the state of Utah. I think it's a great place to live. Maybe it's not for everybody. That's okay. But I cannot think of another place that I would want to call home. And I may criticize California, but we do enjoy visiting California. So I don't hate the state of California. I have more, but they're dumb. There is no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that someone does not ask. By all means, you're welcome to ask any question. I mean, I've had questions from people who live like overseas, and they're asking questions like, how do you obtain a driver's license? How do you register a car? And that's, that's totally fine. And for people in the United States, they already know those items, and that's okay. Okay, go ahead and shoot your question if you would like to. That's the one nice thing about YouTube is you are technically, I guess, anonymous. We cannot we do not know, no one knows your address or anything like that about you. So final questions. Are Californians moving in changing the culture of Utah? Well, I would say no, but obviously there would be some yes to that. And it's happening in Idaho too. I'm very familiar with what's going on in Idaho. Some people from California move, and they move to a state like Utah and Idaho, and they would like to bring some of their, let's say, California politics to these states. But I personally, the people that I work with and the people that I talk to, that is a very, very small percentage. What I find is the people who are moving here from California are trying to get away from that particular situation, whether it's politics, whether it's the homeless situation, whether it's the high cost of living, you name it. They are escaping California for that reason. So most everybody that I talk to and I ask this question all the time, what brings you to California? What brings you to Utah? And some of the things pop up, the pandemic, the high cost living, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. You know most of the list. So I find that majority of the people who are moving here want a change in life. They want the freedom, the right to bear arms, the right to enjoy off-road vehicles, whether it's a UTV or a dirt bike or whatever their enjoyment is. They are coming here to live that a little bit more, maybe freedom. And so thank you for all the information, Fred. You're welcome. Do you see Utah remaining a strong red state? Yes. I don't see us changing. No, I don't. There's far too many. What brings one of the things that brings people to the state of Utah is our outdoor recreation. And that whole thing of everything that goes, whether you're a skier, a golfer, an off-road person, you name it, the freedom, a hunter, a fisherman, the freedom that brings defines kind of like a red state partly, and there's other things also. So I don't see it change, but you can never say never, but I don't anticipate changing. So it's going to be interesting what happens around the country actually over the next 2.5 years. I'm really curious about the November elections and what's going to happen in 2 years. So moving to the Grantsville area from Texas, what's your opinion of that area? Well, Grantsville is a small community. It's so it's kind of like small town living. A lot of mom and pop business, very similar. I'm not too sure if you joined me earlier about Morgan. Very similar situation. You won't find your larger amenities. Let's say, your restaurants, your Costco's, stuff like that. You'll have to come into the Salt Lake Valley for that. So you're going to be anywhere from it really depends on where you're living, half hour to 40 minutes into downtown. So for some people, no big deal. Other people, there's a lot of people who work in Salt Lake City, but will live in an area like Grantsville, Tooele, and they don't mind, like when they get off work, if they're a Costco shopper or Sam's, they do all their shopping then, and then they go home. They don't have to make the trip back. Or if they're seeing a specialist at a doctor's office or at a hospital, they'll make appointments during their lunch hours or after work or something like that, and they'll do it while they're in the Salt Lake Valley, and then they'll go home to areas like Grantsville. So yeah, it's a small community. I think it's a great community. A little bit of wind out there, so the wind does blow. But if you are an individual who maybe eats dinner out regular, like say every night or something, you'll probably run out of selections to choose from in the Tooele Grantsville area, and you would have to commute into Salt Lake Valley to a large selection. So that would be kind of like I guess a negative for some people. So that is true for me. I got to get out of crazy California. Yep. And that's exactly the people that I talk to and the people that I've worked with. They're in the same boat. Then you have another group of people that are coming here because their job requires them to come here. So it's a little different for some of those people because they didn't really quote like maybe choose Utah. It was an opportunity, or maybe their company from California shut down and they moved their plant here or something like that. So run into that too. I feel that Idaho and Utah are family-friendly states. The cost of living seems to be a lower cost of living. Yes, in both areas. Yeah, Idaho and Utah, very, very similar states. And I actually call them pretty much identical states. My wife is from Idaho, so we spent a lot of time in Idaho. The one thing their winters in Idaho is way different than in Utah. I mean, it's not unusual to see 3 foot of snow with drifting snow. Where I'm at in northern Utah, we don't see it. I've never seen that. Never seen winters like that they get up there, and the minus degree temperatures up some of those areas. Now the Boise area is a little bit different, but I'm referring to like the eastern side over by, you're getting closer towards Yellowstone and that. But yeah, Utah, Idaho, whether it's politics, people, your landscape, very, very similar. Very, very similar. Yes. Idaho's a great state. Any dangerous animals on hikes encountered? No, I've never personally run into anything. You'll read a little bit on the newspaper every once in a while. There was somebody hiking last year or the year before, ran across a cougar, actually videotaped it. And they tell you just to slowly back away. And they videotaped the whole thing, and he slowly backed up, and then the cougar took off. No, you'll find like some little snakes every once in a while, but typically, in my opinion, most of them they typically look for shade throughout the day. So unless you're disturbing them, they typically won't disturb you in a sense. But no, most of your like standard hiking trails, people that I know and me personally have pretty much never had a problem. If you go more into the backcountry, the areas that are a little less traveled, then possibility. Yes, you could maybe come across cougar, wolf, maybe a bear, but it'd probably be on the rare occasion. Pretty much, yeah. But most of the common hiking spots, no. Utah is beautiful. I lived in Farmington, Kaysville, and Draper. Loved every place I lived. Yeah, I think it's great. The number one thing people are shocked who come here for the first time when I tell people we live next to the mountain. I guess some people don't quite believe me. And some people feel like, oh, I've got to buy $1 million plus home to get a view of the mountain or see the mountain. It's like, no, you can live in an apartment downtown and you'll have the mountain. It's right there. It's right next to you. You don't have to spend millions of dollars to get like a mountain view. You're right next to the mountain. All along the Wasatch Front in northern Utah. Yes, whether it's from Logan all the way down to Provo Orem area. So it's fantastic. I actually love it. My home faces to the east and the mountains on the east side. I back my car into the driveway, into the garage. And I think my neighbors probably think I'm nuts. They see me backing in all the time. But I enjoy when I leave, I look at the mountain and throughout the year. So like earlier in the year, I can see the snow level as the winter comes and the snow level will come down. You literally see it come down the mountainside. And then as we start getting into spring, you start to see it disappear and you're, getting taller and taller and taller and you can see the snow capped mountains. And then eventually it's all melted and it turns green and I get to see it all turn beautiful green. So I enjoy that viewpoint. I make it a purpose when I drive out. I always view it, and depending on what time of year is, I enjoy that view for like 5 minutes while I'm pulling out, 3 minutes. So it's good. How would a single non-LDS person find a community to feel comfortable in? Well, I would say any community. Yeah, I would say just about any community. You will, you attract like-minded people. I think our percentage is throughout the state, and I don't know the exact numbers. Probably about 50% of the population is probably part of the LDS faith. And there are probably cities that it's a little higher, lower. But in general, you'll find friends who relate to what you enjoy, like myself. The people who I hang out with or associate with are people who have same interests as me. Maybe we enjoy going to college football games. We enjoy golf. We enjoy skiing together, boating, or going on a hike. And that's the people who, usually you'll make friends with. So whatever your hobby is or your thing, maybe it's scrapbooking or it's charity work, maybe. So you'll typically, if you have a particular charity that you enjoy doing charity work for, you usually will make friends in that particular community with people who have the same ideas that you have. So as far as feeling comfortable or anything like that, it's no different than anywhere else. And everywhere you go in the world, no matter where you go in the world, there are people who will like you or not like you based on how you look, how you act, or maybe what religion you are, or what race you are, or what country you come from. And maybe, you come from some country and like, I mean, you could live next to someone, maybe that's Russian, and they, I don't like people who are Russian. And you'll always find people that will have a prejudice, no matter what state you move to. But in general, you will find that people in the state of Utah welcome people with open arms. So, and part of that is to do with the church influence of and what they believe in. Now, I've had some people that will live next to somebody who is LDS, and they're like, oh, they never talk to me, et cetera, et cetera. And I tell them, maybe they're two young working professionals, okay? Or just maybe two young people with no kids. Let's just go like that. And maybe the family next door, they're LDS and they've got, say, 4 kids. And I'm like, it's not that they don't want to associate with you. You have time in your life. You have to remember that their family is busy. They have church activities. And when you have 4 kids, 3 kids, 5 kids, it's a full-time job. Every night of the week, something is going on. You have birthday parties, you have school events. They don't have time sometimes to come and sit on your deck and have a cup of coffee or something. It's not that they don't want to. Their lives are busy. When you have a larger family, it's different than single people, or maybe families without kids probably have a little more free time. So it's, sometimes you have to just look at the bigger picture of what's going on in someone's life. And maybe that's why you feel like they don't maybe associate with you, et cetera, et cetera. So, but in general, I don't think you'd have, you typically will make friends with people who you have similar interests with, as we all do. So I say you're a rock climber. Well, you're probably not going to hang out with me because I'm a person who doesn't like heights. I don't skydive. I don't rock climb. I have a fear of heights. So that's something that doesn't attract me to people who are maybe in that group because of my own personal interests and hobbies. LDS people are great. I attended Baptist church and also non-denominational church while I lived there. Most people in Utah are wonderful people. Yes, they're very open, very open-minded, and sometimes it's about respect too. So, with that, and with all religions, if you respect someone's religion or respect someone's belief, whatever religion they are, they will give you respect back most of the time. So, yeah. So, yep. Yeah. Most of the time, welcome with open arms. Any more questions this evening? Okay. It is 9:06. It has been 1 hour and 5 minutes. Wow. Time has gone by very fast. I'm going to call it an evening, and I appreciate all the questions. It has been very entertaining. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And if you are in the state of Utah right now, and you're in the state of Utah, you're looking for something to do this weekend, at Hill Air Force Base has an air show. Thunderbirds will be performing there Saturday and Sunday. Free to get in. You can drive your car right on there, park for free, attend the air show for free. So great opportunity. They're going to have shows going all day. And then the highlight of the show is the Thunderbirds, the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. Thank you. Everybody have a good weekend.